Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am so incredibly excited you're here today because we are tackling a topic that feels literally ripped straight out of a science fiction novel, but it's currently commanding hundreds of millions of dollars in real-world venture capital. Look, lately it feels like the entire world is chasing the AI revolution, right? And because of that, terrestrial energy demands are just absolutely skyrocketing. So where do the billionaires want to look next for power? Space. Today, we're going to do a deep dive technical investigation into this wildly hyped concept of space-based AI data centers. We're going to take the shiny billionaire pitch and put it right up against the harsh, unforgiving laws of physics. Okay, let's just dive right into this because I'll admit the pitch itself sounds incredibly seductive. The basic idea is that reusable rockets are eventually going to cut launch costs down so drastically that we can just park gigantic solar-powered data centers right up in Earth orbit. The proponents are promising free, unyielding solar energy, absolutely no landowners to negotiate with, and zero terrestrial environmental regulations standing in your way. I mean, it sounds like an absolute dream for an AI executive. But as we start to actually peel back the layers of this concept, we have to ask ourselves a pretty critical question. Is this sheer genius or total delusion? To really ground this, let's talk power. A single terrestrial NVIDIA NVL72 server rack, which is the exact kind of hardware you actually need to run these large language models, demands 120 kilowatts of electricity. Just to put that into perspective, that is the equivalent power draw of 60 suburban homes with their air conditioning absolutely blasting. Now let's compare that to the current state of space computing. An AMD chip inside a Starlink satellite, which is essentially the cutting edge of compute in space right now, has a peak power generation of just 5 kilowatts. The gap between what AI actually requires and what our current space hardware delivers is honestly staggering. Yet, despite that massive, glaring gap, a company called Starcloud recently pulled in $170 million in funding. Their pitch? To build an orbital data center by March 2026. And their target power generation for this thing is 5 gigawatts. 5 billion watts. To actually capture that much power, even using high-efficiency solar panels, you'd need an area of 12.5 million square meters. Think about that. That is nearly 5,000 times the surface area of the International Space Station's solar arrays. And remember, the ISS took decades to assemble in orbit. Now, sure, maybe you can figure out a way to generate 5 gigawatts of power in space. But here's the massive yes-but pivot. All of that energy doesn't just magically vanish after your computer crunches the data. It immediately becomes 5 gigawatts of pure heat. And in the vacuum of space, there is absolutely no air to convect that heat away. It'll just sit there and accumulate until the satellite literally fries itself. The only way to cool it down is to radiate that heat away into the void, which is governed by a little something called the Stefan-Boltzmann equation. To maximize this, you're going to need massive, highly specialized radiators coated in very specific materials like AZ93 white paint, just to survive the thermal load. So Starcloud's white paper suggests they want to keep their servers at around 20 degrees Celsius. You know, the exact same temperature as a comfortable, air-conditioned server room right down here on Earth. But to maintain that terrestrial temperature in a vacuum, you're looking at a radiator footprint that is almost incomprehensible. You would literally need a structure 4 kilometers tall and 840 meters wide. That is a single radiator panel larger than most downtown city districts, just hanging off a satellite. And a structure that colossal leads directly into a catastrophic engineering hurdle. But wait, it gets crazier. How do you actually move the heat from the servers to those massive radiators? You have to pump fluid, specifically something like liquid glycol, through thousands of tiny channels. Doing this passively to move 5 gigawatts of heat? Literally impossible. You would require an active fluid flow rate of 68,870 kilograms per second. Just try to wrap your head around that number for a second. That's the equivalent of completely emptying an entire Olympic-sized swimming pool every 40 seconds. Up in space. To pull that off, you'd need the pumping power of 134 space shuttle rocket engine turbopumps running continuously. The white paper, yeah, it kind of just completely glosses over this part. And remember, space is just violently hostile, constantly bombarding delicate engineering with physical threats. We're talking about highly pressurized coolant lines pushing swimming pools of liquid glycol every single minute, totally exposed to micrometeorite strikes. I mean, the ISS already has a terrible history of leaks from tiny impacts. Then you've got atomic oxygen chemically attacking the surfaces, and the Van Allen belts constantly bombarding and degrading your materials, and finally having massive flat panels hanging off a satellite creates unbelievable aerodynamic drag in low Earth orbit. Between Earth's lumpy gravity and that atmospheric drag, maintaining a stable orbit for a structure this incredibly massive is an absolute nightmare. It gets worse, actually. Space isn't just physically dangerous, it's hostile to logic itself. Picture this. Step 1, a high-energy cosmic ray zips through space and strikes a tiny nanometer transistor. Step 2, an information bit is instantly flipped from a 0 to a 1. Step 3, your data is completely corrupted, giving you the absolute mother of all AI hallucinations. You simply cannot run terrestrial chips naked in space. Real space servers currently operating on the ISS, like those Hewlett-Packard Edge computers, literally have to run 3 instances of the exact same calculation simultaneously just to cross-check and weed out those corrupted bits. That process completely triples the required mass and power of your data center right out of the gate. Okay, so let's pivot to the harsh economics of this whole thing, starting with weight. Launching stuff is famously expensive, right? So efficiency is everything. When we compare power to mass ratios, Starcloud's pitch aggressively claims they can hit 1,000 watts per kilogram for their hardware. Well, let's fact-check that against reality real quick. The most advanced, current space-rated hardware, the ROSA solar arrays on the ISS, get about 100 watts per kilogram. Even the unproven, micrometer-thick designs that are still stuck in a lab somewhere only project about 300 watts per kilogram. The billionaire pitch is relying on math that is literally 10 times more optimistic than the absolute best hardware humanity has today. So when you correct their math and calculate the true mass required for a 5-gigawatt station with all the necessary solar panels and those giant 4-kilometer radiators, the reality check is brutal. The estimated mass is well over 113 million kilograms. That is literally heavier than a fully loaded Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. In fact, just to build this one single data center, you would need to launch more than 6 times the total mass that has been launched into space in all of human history combined. Just let that scale sink in for a second. And this brings us to my absolute favorite part of this explainer, the comparative study of launch costs. Starcloud bases their financial model on a, frankly, fantastical launch cost of just $30 per kilogram for a wildly underestimated 5,000-ton station. But what is the actual commercial reality right now? If we look at a recent deal SpaceX signed with Voyager Technologies, the real cost is roughly $900 per kilogram. When you multiply the true market price of $900 a kilo by the realistic mass of this megastructure we just talked about, the launch costs alone exceed $102 billion. But let's say you do spend that $100 billion to get this hardware up there. For how long? AI hardware evolves so unbelievably fast that terrestrial data centers push their chips to the absolute limit and basically replace them every 2 to 4 years. Plus, if an AI company goes bankrupt on Earth, the physical servers, the building, the power plants, they stay behind. They're highly recoverable assets. Up in space, the lifespan is significantly shorter due to the hostile environment, and there are literally 0 recoverable assets upon failure. If a single power connection rattles loose during launch or a docking procedure fails, that's it. It's an immediate, unrecoverable loss of billions of dollars. When an orbital data center dies, it leaves absolutely nothing behind. Now, to be totally fair, it's really important to acknowledge that brilliant engineers know all this. They recognize the flaws and they're actively trying to design alternatives. Take Google's Suncatcher concept, for example. Instead of one impossible megastructure, they're proposing a constellation of 81 smaller satellites. They'd fly together in a bound sun-synchronous orbit, talk to each other via laser networks, and use these wild, futuristic liquid droplet space radiators that literally spray oil directly into the vacuum of space to cool down. It's totally brilliant on paper, but keeping 81 satellites perfectly aligned without heavy tethers creates a massive collision avoidance nightmare. For context, SpaceX's Starlink had to perform 300,000 collision avoidance maneuvers in a single year. One bad maneuver in a bound orbit, you're looking at a catastrophic domino effect for the entire 81 satellite cluster.
So we kind of have to pause here, right? We've gone through all the numbers. We've looked at the brutal physics, the massive downtown-sized radiators, the bit-flipping cosmic rays, and the $100 billion launch price tags. If the economics are this utterly disastrous and the physics are this violently punishing, we have to ask the obvious question. Why on earth are highly intelligent engineers and massive venture capital firms still trying to build this?
Well, the answer isn't so you can get a faster response from an AI chatbot on your phone. The answer is actually summarized perfectly in this rather chilling quote. Autonomous warfare, powered by satellite intelligence, is the future of warfare. We are looking at a profound strategic military angle here. Recently, when conflict sparked in Iran, we saw a massive global scramble of observation satellites, all desperate to pull down gigabytes of data. Over in Ukraine, we've already seen fully autonomous drones patrolling and engaging without human guidance. The military apparatus globally recognizes a simple truth. Whoever can process orbital intelligence faster is going to win the conflicts of the future. You see, beaming terabytes of high-resolution radar and imagery all the way down to Earth just to be processed is becoming a massive bottleneck. Processing it directly up in orbit completely solves that. Space is the ultimate high ground. An orbital AI data center has access to uninterruptible solar power, and crucially, it is a near impossible target for standard terrestrial adversaries to attack. Down here on Earth, data centers are highly vulnerable strategic targets. Put them in space, and they are exponentially more secure. So the real driver behind this multi-billion-dollar push, it's secure, untargetable military intelligence processing. And as we all know, when it comes to maintaining strategic dominance, the military has famously deep pockets to make the impossible happen.
Which leaves us with this final, honestly pretty provocative thought to ponder. We've seen that the commercial justifications for space-based AI centers completely fall apart under the crushing weight of physics and orbital mechanics. But the strategic military value, that is undeniable. So I'll leave you with this. When the next global conflict requires instant, secure orbital AI processing, what is going to break first? Will it be the harsh, unyielding laws of physics? Or will the impossibly deep pockets of the military brute force their way to a solution? Thank you so much for diving into this explainer with me. Keep questioning the pitch and keep looking up.